Hi, I'm an Australian guy living here in Belarus, and I have to confess, when I came to Belarus, I really knew nothing about the place at all. All I knew is that it was the middle of COVID times and this place would let me in. So I'm like, sounds pretty good, I'm in. One thing I've noticed since I've been here is that there's quite a lot of foreign men from Western Europe, America, Australia, Turkey, a lot from Turkey, a lot from surrounding countries in that region as well. There's also a lot of Chinese, men and women, but everyone else are men. There's literally no foreign women here, apart from Chinese. I really have not met a single one, I'm pretty sure, since my time here, and I've been here for just over 1 year now. So it's pretty obvious that one of the main draw cards of Belarus is lots of young, attractive women. This seems to be fairly obvious. Otherwise, you would get more women here, right? More foreign women. And it's true, you look around Minsk and women look pretty good, like, yeah, generally in pretty good shape, and there's a culture of competition between women here, particularly in Minsk. Less so in smaller cities, but in Minsk here you can really see the competition. But there's also competition between guys. Yeah, guys are competing, guys are going to the gym. Certainly in my gym, there's more guys than girls, definitely, you know. And guys looking good, they're in good shape, they're styling well, getting good haircuts, etc, etc. So I'm guessing that at some stage in the near future, the word about Belarusian men will get out. And we'll find a lot of women from Western countries, America, Australia, Canada, and so forth. We'll see girls from these countries maybe come to Belarus as well, looking for love and romance. It turns out this is probably my shortest video ever, so I'm going to put a little bit of B-roll footage of something at the end, so I hope that you enjoy whatever's coming at you right now. Hi, I'm an Australian living here in Belarus, and I'm at Centralny bus station here in Minsk, and I'm about to head down to Grodno. If you can't read Russian, that second one is Grodno, 10:50, and I reckon that is my bus right there. As usual on these trips to regional Belarus, we always have a stop at the petrol station, go to the toilet, buy some snacks or whatever, and here I am. It's nice and brisk out here. It's probably a nice warm 10 degrees, and you can really see the forest in the background there. There's forest as long as you can imagine. So halfway to Grodno, we'll be there in another hour or so. We're up on level 2. Oh, beautiful. The view out here in the back of the hotel looks quite suave. You never quite know what you're getting. I mean, you can see the reviews, you can see the photos, but you never quite know what you will get. All right, room number 23. Ah, 23A, 23B. There you go. Alright, what have we got here? Oh yeah, nice and simple. Looks like a decent bed. Kind of modern wallpaper, not too babushka. Basic little mirror there. Got whatever this is supposed to be. Just a television, so small though. Maybe it links into your computer. Pretty good. Nice, simple. I feel like for these short trips, you really only want something for, yeah, you're just going to come home and shower and you're not going to spend a lot of time. Pretty basic in here. That beautiful green. Lovely. Some nice little fishy things there. Pretty good. I'm happy. We'll turn south here from this church. So I imagine that some of you will take this video and actually follow along in real life, potentially. So of course we've got a school excursion here. Headed south, this is Soviet Square. Immediate to my right, approximately 50 meters up, is Soviet Street, which is probably the main touristy street, cobblestone, classic kind of old town looking. It's not actually old town, but it looks like a classic kind of old town in Europe. This is Soviet Square here, and we're kind of this way to get to this little church, and this church is, the name escapes me, Saint something and Gleb it was, but it's within a park, so it's a structure inside of a park. So you see some of the scenery on the way through here. See a little bit of Grodno, very familiar sight. Somebody with a bit of bread there feeding the pigeons, something you see a lot of. Nice early morning here. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, so a little bit of light foot traffic around. People going about their daily business. This lady walking her daughter somewhere. Nice lever. The abundance of parks and religious monuments. Interesting mix of religious and communist. Of course, the two don't typically go together very well. As you're probably aware, one of the core ideas of communism and leftism is the idea that traditions are bad and oppressive, and just create oppressed groups and oppressors and so forth, and needs to be undone. So the cornerstone of traditional leftist thinking is to tear apart traditional religions, especially big book religions. If you actually notice that church we just walked past earlier, the St. Francis Xavier Cathedral, services there were stopped for quite a while during the Soviet era. Of course, Marx wrote very famously that religion is the opiate of the masses. Of course, all that matters is a class struggle, was the theory given. So it's interesting to see how these things kind of survive, and just to, I'm not sure how kind of up on these things you are, or how much you care, but you might notice that in China at the moment, you probably don't want to be a member of a big book religion, from all reports. And again, it's a competing ideology, right? If you're a kind of Marxist, you don't want a competing ideology. You want everyone looking through your lens of oppressed and oppressor. You don't want anything to complicate this kind of black and white narrative. But nonetheless, yeah, there's a lot of Christianity here. And churches are in very good condition, very good order in Belarus, which kind of indicates a bit of funding there. I'm not sure if it's all self-funded, or whether maybe the government pitches in there a little bit to encourage it. The government here is quite pro-family, preaches a lot of pro-family stuff. There's a lot of pro-family policies in place. So I don't know this for a fact, but it's quite possible that maybe there is some funding coming through to churches from government. Total speculation, I'm not sure, but it would kind of fit. And as I say, these churches are in great repair. It's not unusual in Belarus to have, you go to poorer areas and so forth, to have some of the buildings in not fantastic repair. It can happen. Generally things are kept in good order, at least on the outside, to be fair. But yeah, sometimes you get some kind of rougher looking buildings on the outside, but the church is always in great order, inside and outside. And you notice that church, that St. Francis Xavier Cathedral, that's 50 meters tall. So to get up there and to paint it, this is a considerably resource intensive activity. So they've got money, in other words. So the money's got to come from somewhere. But it's well visited too. I went in there and there's a good steady flow of people in and out, just at random times. We're headed south at the moment. As you can see, this kind of inner part of Grodno has an exceptionally European feel. It's kind of a classic European feel to it. Generally kind of narrow roads, narrow footpaths, kind of winding roads, winding footpaths. It's all very cute and romantic, not super practical for high numbers of people, but it's, you know, you can't help but have a romanticism. Ah, look at this. Very interesting. So this does appear to be the fire brigade. We've got mixed stuff up here as well. There's a mix of everything in there. That's very interesting. All right, got a green man here. Let's cross over. So I do encourage you, if you are in Grodno, excuse me, or do intend to be here, you can follow this video. You can walk with me, and you don't need Google Maps or Yandex Maps. You can just follow me down here. Have a bit of a chat on the way down. Because I feel like pretty much every foreigner who's in Belarus pretty much knows me. I'm getting, considering my channel is quite humble, excuse me, quite humble in terms of subscriber numbers, but it seems that everyone who might be here seems to know me. I get recognised an awful lot, even once here in Grodno in the 2 days I've been here. These typical kind of village feeling houses nestled away here. But in Minsk, I mean, I know the day before I left, I got recognised twice in one day. I was only out for a couple of hours. Once by Tito Flores. If you know this guy, he's a Filipino YouTuber who lives in Belarus. He lives in Minsk actually, with his his Belarusian girlfriend. Shout out to Tito. We had a couple of selfies together and posted stories of each other and got excited. It was kind of cool. I was happy to see him. It's kind of interesting, even though I'm Australian and ethnically European, and I come from all parts of Europe, or parts of me do, I do feel a real affinity with Asian culture, and I think it's because they're so close to us geographically, that I have a lot of friends from Asian backgrounds. I've met a lot of people from these countries, including Philippines or Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, China especially. I do feel a bit of an affinity. I kind of feel, when I'm in Asia, I do feel a little bit like home, to be honest. It feels quite comfortable for me, even if it's hectic, crazy, polluted, everything else. So I kind of got excited to see this guy, Filipino guy. I've got a good Filipino friend back in Australia. And they always have this very positive, fun disposition. They're high energy, they love to laugh, they love to joke. So it was kind of cool to have that experience with Tito. So do check him out if you're watching. You may or may not know him already. Tito, I think it's Flores. Tito Flores. But if you put in like, you know, Filipino, Belarus, YouTube, or something like this, be creative with some keywords there. You'll find him. And I was speaking to him and he was saying that he'll probably eventually move to the Philippines with his girl. Look at this. Although living in Minsk at the moment and working remotely. So we've come down quite a way here. I'll just, in case it's not clear on camera, we've come down a good, well, several levels, several building levels equivalent on the way down here. And it's quite a very tranquil, relaxing vibe. You can see quite a lot of houses here nestled away inside here. It's a very interesting little kind of sub-community here. Yeah, quite a few large-sized houses nestled away. I'll try and get a little bit closer, see if I can get more of a look at what's going on in there. Looks quite private and exclusive in here. Excuse me. Nice little creek running there. And it feels like you're out in the country. It's really interesting. Like we've literally just walked from the city centre in, well, the video's been going for just on 10 minutes now. And we literally feel like village life at the moment. It's fantastic. The air is clean. Lots of greenery, as you can see. And yeah, just a few minutes walk from the city centre. Nice little position for these houses, goodness. Nice and sheltered from the world. These are very appealing. Oh, this one probably needs a little bit of a touch up, but let's zoom in there. Got a little greenhouse there, homemade greenhouse. These are very common in Belarus. It's like a greenhouse that we would have it, but with a kind of white plastic, thick white plastic, rather than actual glass, and it keeps that heat in, and good for growing cucumbers in particular, I hear. These greenhouses are good for growing cucumbers. And cucumbers are something that are quite common and cheap here in Belarus, especially at the moment. Goodness, they're like 50 cents a kilo, something like this on the market. I was in Mogilov the other day and I bought a 2-foot long cucumber. Could you imagine this monster? And it was only for a grand total of 1 ruble, which is just under 40 US cents. Turn right down here. Obviously this is a tourist attraction. You can see people just parked here. And a bit of life and activity up here. So we know there's some kind of tourist draw. So apparently there is some kind of visa. I didn't look into it greatly, but it's been around since 2016 that allows foreigners from a lot of countries actually to come into Grodno, the region. And I think Brest has something similar. Because these countries do have such a long history, these areas have such a long history attached to other countries in the region. But apparently there's 77 countries that qualify for this. They can come in along the Polish or Lithuanian borders and just come into these regions if you want to. And as a result, you can see there's actually tourists here. Like in Minsk, oh, you do get tourists actually, I take that back. You get tourists, but here you have more of your older couples with cameras and lenses kind of tourists, whereas you kind of get a different kind of tourist. They get a lot more random couple, and there we are. Wow. So the southern side collapsed. Where would south be right about now? And that way. So the side facing us, if you can see it's been replaced with boards there, that may be some kind of wood. Let's see how we get up there. Maybe this way? Looks like this seems to be a bit of a beaten path here, with minimal snakes. I reckon. Proper stairs. Well, we've got some fisherman action here. Some boys getting down here. Looks like a bit of fly fishing, isn't it? Oh wow, got the 3 things down here. That multitasking, having a cigarette and throwing his line at the same time. Very efficient. This is our destination, ladies and gentlemen. Although YouTube tells me 92% gentlemen, 8% ladies. Not surprisingly. So you can see this side has been rebuilt with wooden finish there. Interesting to, I'm surprised to see this actually. I was anticipating that it would have been rebuilt or renovated with the original fabric, i.e. these bricks, traditional old bricks, to make it look genuine. I'm really quite surprised that they have replaced it with this. If you know more about this, do let me know. If you know, there seems to be a lot of people who like to be historians on little random things like this. Nice peaceful river here. So if you know a bit about this building, do let me know. And maybe behind the decision-making process of why they replaced this wall with the wood or artificial wood. We'll see shortly. It reminds me of a cabin. I rented a cabin down in a little town called Belarusian, which is just north of Minsk, on the southern border of Belarus. And there was a big house that I rented on this big property for a few days, and the same wood that was used there. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure that this was actually rebuilt in the late 19th century. So it might have been rebuilt once and then rebuilt again more recently, would be my guess, because I think that those wooden planks are probably not from the 19th century, right? So just taking a guess. Got quite a few steps here to get up. Beautiful sunny morning. Look at this. See the top of the cathedral there, just kind of peeking over the lawn. Good exercise for you. Get up these stairs, you lazy tourist. If you do live in Minsk, you'll be no stranger to stairs. Going up and down in and around the metros, the underpasses where you walk underneath. I don't know how many stairs I do in the average day, but it's well in the hundreds. Great to get this kind of incidental exercise. Makes you feel a bit more human. Get the heart rate up a little bit without having to go to the gym. Nice, well-maintained hills. I can imagine having a picnic here in the warmer months. As I film this, we're in, goodness, what's the date at the moment? Kind of middle of September 2022. You'll probably get this as a B-roll in some other video at some stage in the next few months. Nearly at the top here. Hear a few kids squealing. Oh, look at this. So these, you can probably see on the edge of the building already. Something very unique about this building is they've got these kind of coloured parts. I'm not sure the exact name for them, but you can see these kind of tinted. I don't know if they're just sitting on the outside of the structure or whether they're embedded in there, but this is quite a unique look and one very typical of the era. This young fella using a well to get his water. Get in there, son. Old school. Good job, young fella. Alrighty, so a little school excursion there. Little birdhouse. There's a lot of birdhouses around Belarus, which is cool. I really like this. A little birdhouse there. Here we go. So yeah, you've got these kind of external tiles here, and it looks like they are embedded in the building. You can see he's going quite deep. So they built them to be very beautiful. They really built with their, for the era. I mean, you're looking at 12th century. Geez, think about the mentality of people in the 12th century. I mean, it's hard to really know for sure, but yeah, this is quite advanced, quite cool. Being able to fit this into the building and have the building still last for however long. Obviously, you got your more modern piping there. Zoom in on this a little bit and see what we got. Crazy, this has lasted over 800 years, made like this. You see the bricks are quite flat. Modern day bricks are of course a bit squarer, a bit more, height and width are kind of similar. Obviously the length of these bricks is kind of similar, but you see they're quite irregular too, the lengths of the bricks. They're not just standard, like nowadays you'll have whatever, would be about 20 centimetres by 8 by 5 or whatever a normal brick would be. But you see here they're much more irregular in size. Again, I'm sure someone who's watching knows more about this than I do and can share some knowledge down in the comment section. I can see how it was rebuilt just a little bit there. Obviously some of the wall fell out and you got some more traditional looking bricks. So there's a few generations there. You can kind of see here is more harder brick. Hello. There's a more modern red brick. So you can see there's a few layers of restoration there already on the top level there, but the lower parts seem to have survived without the need for restoration. Oh, there you go, some of that. So you get a bit of an insight here as to how it was made. So it was still the same. So some of these are falling out, obviously. You can see they weren't that deep in there. And they seem to have just made, there's obviously an inner layer and an outer layer. It's got this, these decorations inside. Very interesting, the detail. Again, you got some restoration works here. Parts of it falling out. And of course the piping there to try to increase the longevity. You can see the roof though, the roof is clearly just very recent and designed to protect the thing. But I'm really impressed how well it's been preserved actually. It's quite amazing. So this side would be facing, that's south, that's north, this must be east facing. A couple of windows. Again, they've obviously been restored. But you can see all the detail in there. Yeah, a lot of this kind of northeastern side looks like it's been replaced. That top kind of 2 meters there with a more modern kind of brick. You can really see the contrast. The bricks here are a lot flatter. They're probably only 4 or 5 centimeters tall, whereas these ones might be 10 centimeters tall. And a shape you're probably much more familiar with. At some stage we've decided they're kind of more efficient than these kind of flatter ones. These would be, yeah, 5 centimeters maybe, something to this effect. And you can see just kind of irregular shapes, just obviously in the production process you can just see that kind of just break off bits. So you can kind of envisage they've just got long planks of baked something. You can see the texture in there, and then they've just kind of karate chopped them and then just put them together as it is with all this cement. Again, do feel free. I've just wandered up here with absolutely no knowledge of this place at all, so feel free, if you've done a bit of your own research or you've visited or it's a passion of yours, feel free to share stuff that you know about this particular structure, its history and so forth. And we can see this kind of brand new part. This is the part that collapsed. As I say, it was rebuilt, well, according to Wikipedia, it was rebuilt in the late 18th century. Now, of course, this structure here is clearly not from the late 19th century. So obviously there's been a couple of goes at restoring this. This is very clear. It looks very attractive and subtle, but obviously there was a reason behind changing its appearance. And if you do know why they decided to do this, I'm sure there's a reason for it. There's probably some politics behind it, and one group wanted this, one group wanted that, blah, 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 blah. So if you do know, yell out in the comments section below. So this is kind of normal. Kind of wood. And of course, a wonderful view. There's another church there. Someone we just walked past, you might have noticed that around 5 minutes in. You've got the sun just kind of creeping out from the clouds there, creating a wonderful kind of misty kind of feeling. So I'll come back to the grounds here because there was a little bit of grounds around. I'll show you what else is around here so you can see the boundaries of this build. Another birdhouse. So this seems to be a central feature here. Let's go and see what this is. I'll show you what it says. I wonder the language it would be in. Oh, here we go. So this one says 1128. Wiki was saying 1183, I think Wiki said. So there you go. You got Grodno, both in Russian and in English. Interesting that it's not in Belarusian. In fact, we've got Kitaisky, Chinese. So this would obviously be quite recent, I'd imagine, for that purpose. China and Belarus do have some considerable ties. There are a lot of Chinese students living here in Belarus, in particular Minsk. A lot of Chinese students, so Obviously quite friendly. There's a hell of a lot of Belarusians living in China too, several thousand actually. I think this is more of the same. This looks like the same. So it could be 1128. If it's 1128, then you're looking at not far off 900 years, which is pretty crazy. Hello.
Hello.
These friendly Belarusians. Let's check out what this is. Oh, kids, bless them. All right, let's see what this is. Ah, it's really too hard to read, unfortunately. I can't actually see it, it's too glary to be able to read. But we're going to assume that someone's buried here, right? So I'll try not to step on the grave there. There it is. Hope you enjoyed it. As usual, if you have any ideas or feedback or what have you, do share below. For most of my normal videos, I do tend to check the comments from time to time, so you'll get a response if you're wanting to engage on something sensible. Enjoy. So I actually just realised this side I didn't go to. We have an open door. So let's have a look inside and see what we see. Wow. There's a very strong sense of smell of incense. Obviously we've got a school excursion here today. I don't know where to look first, there's so much. Beautiful detail in here. See the artificially made roof there. Let's have a look what this pathway is. Leads to... Oh, there we go. Maybe we can even go up there. I think there's stairs. Oh, looks like the stairs are blocked. There you can see. The stairs are blocked here. I think. Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe I can go up. Beautiful smell of incense in here. It really hits you when you enter. Maybe you know what language this is, because obviously they would have been speaking, well, presumably not Russian. It's kind of obvious. But it doesn't look like Belarusian either, so maybe Lithuanian or some other kind of script. There's a lot to take in. These are very detail rich. All these pictures, you can see there's clearly a story going on here.